McEwen wheels in front and was checked. The puck sat there for a moment. Now York is shot. Score! Cam York's first in the National, and it's 2-1 Philadelphia.
This is episode 94 of the Liberty-O. Danny Deemer here with Chris Stumpa.
As always, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Getting ready for some playoff hockey. I love this, or tonight's slate of games in particular. I think these series are just amazing. Between Winnipeg, Vegas, Seattle, Colorado, Tampa, Toronto. New Jersey's kind of fraudulent, but I'm enjoying the playoffs. Yeah, you're right.
They'll be back.
Yeah, New York is just, that's a tough matchup at the end of the day. It really, I don't care who you are. You match up against the New York Rangers in the playoffs. That's a tough outing.
Absolutely. I mean, the Rangers' power play is sickening when they're on. Like, that top unit, it's like Zibanejad with Fox on the point, Kane in his spot, Kreider in net front. I mean, it's just, it's right there with, like, the King, not the Kings, I'm sorry, right there with the Oilers' power play, right there with Tampa, and right there with the Avalanche. I mean, just in terms of star power and the way they move the puck, it's just insane to watch. And like we said before we hit record, it's also painful to watch because it also reminds you just how far away the Flyers are in terms of having that kind of skill on a power play. But yeah, these playoffs, I mean, NHL playoffs round one are always the best, right?
It's honestly my favorite round.
Yeah. Just
because there's so many games and you could see an 8th seed upset, anything could happen. And like I said, just every night, four games.
Yeah.
Like I love that.
What's it called? The one series I wanted to jump in real quick. Did you watch that Oilers game last night? I mean, I know these games go insanely late for our time zone, but
I did. I actually put a live bet on Oilers plus 2.5, and I wish I did money line, but
easily
wow,
been the best series, right? I mean, they've all been good, but that's been the series that I've looked at personally and been like, wow, that's just been back and forth. Like 3 of the games so far have gone into overtime, I think.
And I kind of had a feeling going into this series that this was going to play out like this. Los Angeles has just been getting better and better throughout the years. And Edmonton, at the end of the day, man, all that offense they have, they can just be a little shaky at times. They could just look shaky.
It's that defense and goalie, man. I don't know what's up with it. It's always been like a thorn in their side.
But that offense is so good that sometimes it just doesn't matter. And last night is another example of, I mean, any other team, you're dead after that first period. You're not winning that game. But when you have the 2 best players in the game, you can win that game.
Absolutely.
That was an insane hockey game. It really was. And then they went down 4-3, scored the 4-4 goal, and then won in OT. What a wild game.
I mean, I woke up when they came back and tied it 3-3, and to see all the tweets, especially from the Oilers fans, before they came back, it was just everybody was kind of melting down, like, blow it up, Edmonton's done, they can't win, blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, the series isn't over, obviously, but it's kind of like the same thing with the Leafs. Like, the Leafs were up 2-1, but if you look back on history in the playoffs before, the Leafs have gone up 2-1 before, and, like, I think
many times.
Yeah, many times. So this isn't unfamiliar territory for the Leafs. It's just about them. Can they get over that next hump? And that's another series that I wanted to point at to you. That's been an incredible back and forth. I mean, the last game, like Game 3, was right on par with the King Oilers series. I mean, that was just back and forth hockey the entire time. It was really fun.
When that Game 3 ended, I just thought to myself, like, this is only Game 3.
Yeah,
and this is the intensity that we're getting. Like, this is going to be a dogfight to the finish. Probably 6, probably 7. And I'm excited to see what that looks like as this series plays out, because these teams hate each other.
They do.
They really hate each other.
Real quick, who do you think? Not who do you think? When do you think we finally see Luke Hughes, and if at all, in these playoffs? Because he hasn't played. He's been a healthy scratch. Obviously, he's a rookie.
I don't think you'll see him.
No. I think if they go down 3-1, you might. Just a spark. Just to get a spark. I mean, I don't think it would kill them. I don't think he's going to cost them the series.
Game 5 is in New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could get the crowd going.
Yeah. 3-1. If you're down 3-1, coming back to New Jersey, you need some kind of spark. Maybe you see Luke Hughes. That would be incredible if he made his debut and then did something. Even though I'm not rooting for the Devils at all, but just from a personal, individual standpoint with him, it would be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I have weirdly found myself rooting for the Rangers in that series, and I don't understand why.
Because you hate the
Devils. I think it's because the Devils that leapfrogged us in the lottery. Yeah, they leapfrogged us in the lottery multiple years, so even just seeing them in the playoffs just irks me. So I'm just like, the Rangers I've accepted. Like, they're yoked, whatever. Yeah. Put the Devils down. That's how I feel.
But if you ask any older person or any older Flyers fan, they hate the Devils. Like my dad, I'm sure your dad doesn't like them. Anybody over the age of like 35 who experienced those 04 teams, the Brodeur teams, they have hatred for the Devils in their hearts already. So personally, it's not hard for me to not like them because I kind of grew up with a dad that was like, hey, fuck the Devils. Like, we don't root for anybody that plays for them. We hate everybody that puts on that sweater. I mean, that was how I was raised, but it is nice to see. I mean, it's fun to watch them now. I mean, they are the new age of hockey that's coming into the NHL. Just highly skilled, young. Jack Hughes is the next big thing in hockey right behind Connor McDavid. I mean, he's just incredible. It's fun to watch, but at the same time, it's bleh, because it's the Devils.
Nah, I agree, yeah. Like, just a few years ago, you look at a home game in New Jersey, and you're like, ugh, I don't want to watch that. But now you just think speed, skill, especially when they're playing a team like the Rangers. Like, that sounds like a matchup, a game that any hockey fan would want to watch. To touch back on the Kings-Oilers real fast, I think the Kings had to have that game. Like, that is such a backbreaker. I think Edmonton clearly goes on to win this series now. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. But if the Kings win that game, it's their series, and you're up 3-0 in your building. That building was rocking. I don't know if you saw the first period.
It's going crazy.
But yeah, it was rocking, dude.
I fell asleep
you have
right
to have
after.
that. It's just, it's the way it happened, too. Like, if Edmonton came out and dominated them and won, that'd be one thing. But to be up 3-0, like, in their heads, they're probably thinking they're going to win that game. Especially when you go up 4-3, too, towards the end. Like, to blow that game has to be such a hit to the mental. But obviously, we'll see how that plays out. I just think you got to have that one.
Like you said, against Connor McDavid, you can never let up with those two. Connor McDavid and Draisaitl, and they're incredible. Can't let up with them.
And now it's Game 5 in Edmonton. That crowd's going to be rocking. It's 2-2 when you could have been up 3-1. Whole different vibe.
They're going to look bad. Completely different. It kind of resets the series, if you will. Now that it's 2-2, going back to Edmonton.
It's a best of 3 now.
Yeah. I mean, we could sit here and do this for any of the series. I mean, look at the Kraken. Even though it's 2-1 Colorado, they played a hell of a Game 1, I think it was they won. The Kraken has just been playing good hockey all year, so it's not really surprising seeing them doing what they're doing. Yeah, it was Game 1, they won 3-1, and it was a solid all-around hocky game.
Yeah, it just seems like now Colorado's starting to hit that flow.
Yeah. I mean, McKinnon's being McKinnon.
And it's not even like Seattle's playing bad. It's just, you're just seeing unreal plays out of Colorado that Seattle I just don't think can match.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle doesn't have the high-end talent that Colorado has. I mean, even with Landeskog out for the entire playoffs, like I just said, McKinnon becoming McKinnon, being McKinnon, Makar doing Makar things, and even though they don't have as much depth as they had in previous years, like especially Kadri, that was a big loss, they're still good, and they still have that experience, that playoff experience, where it's kind of like with the Lightning, not totally, but I mean, they can just flip a switch. They've been there, they've done that. McKinnon's one of the best, if not the best player in the world, right behind Connor McDavid, so either them or the Stars coming out of the West, if it's not Edmonton. So.
That's another series. I mean, Minnesota, Dallas is insane hockey. It really is.
That's what I'm saying. Like any of these series, we could sit here and talk for like 30 minutes each just about storylines. I mean, look at the Hurricanes. They have guys dropping like flies. Teuvo Teravainen broke his hand. He's done. I mean, and they're still winning games.
That was a huge 3-1. Game 4.
Huge game 4.
They needed that.
Not Carolina, I'm sorry. The Islanders couldn't take advantage of a very depleted Hurricanes lineup last game in Game 4. I'm pretty sure Carolina had one, if not two guys go out during the game. I didn't get to watch the entire game, but when I did tune in, I did hear one of the play-by-play guys mention how the Islanders just failed to capitalize on the injuries that the Hurricanes had. So seeing them up 3-1, it's not surprising given how deep Carolina is. but a little surprising given, I mean, they're the Islanders. They just never seem to kind of go away. So I do expect them to win Game 5 tomorrow. New York.
I agree, though. They've had opportunities to capitalize. I mean, they probably should have won Game 2. Let's be honest. Like, Carolina clutched up towards the end there. They've been playing them well. Like, those games have been, except for the last one, they've been highly contested. Like, the last one is the game where it's you win that one at home, you could tie it 2-2, and then it's who knows who can win that series. That's why it was such a big game for Carolina right there. Especially, and Carolina hasn't had the most goal output in this series. So for them to go out there and put a 5 spot up on the road,
especially without Svechnikov and Teravainen now, it's a tall task for sure. I think the only series where I don't really care about is the Panthers-Bruins series.
Nah, the series blows.
Right?
I'm so disappointed in Florida. Like, I didn't expect them to win this series, but I at least thought you tie it 1-1, you go home. I thought there'd be more of a fight out of them, but they're looking like the Flyers out there. Like, they're going down 4-1 and then having a surge with 2 minutes left in garbage time. Like, I don't like that series.
Yeah, the series itself is ugly. I don't really give a fuck about it. I mean, because it's Boston. I don't like watching games in Florida. I don't care what anybody says. I just don't enjoy, like,
even the
actually
fans
watching my TV when there are games in Florida. And then plus it's just a lopsided series. The Bruins are just a lot better of a team top to bottom, and it's just not surprising they're up 3-1. I'm surprised that it's not actually a 4-0 sweep, to be honest. But I do expect Boston to win Game 5 and kind of end it 4-1. But that's the only series out of the other 7 that I just couldn't care less about. But all the other ones have been really fun so far.
Well, one we didn't touch on too much, Winnipeg, Vegas.
Winnipeg's
another
done.
Insane one.
Winnipeg's done, you know that, right?
That last game was huge.
Morrissey's out for the season.
Morrissey's out, yeah.
So, I mean, they were all already having a shaky go at it now that Morrissey's down for the count, unfortunately. Hate to see that, but yeah, I think they're done. So
it sucks. The way they started, the way they started this series, even the way that they battled in that home game, I was rooting for it. I really was, but I have to agree with you.
I'm going to need Briere to get on the phone with Winnipeg this summer. Sanheim, first-round pick next year. I mean, we have picks to mess with if you want to.
Yeah, what do you want?
Get on the phone, Briere.
Talk to me.
That's all I'm saying, Danny. Get on the phone.
Talk to me.
Talk to me. That's all the series, though. I think we went through all of them. Game 4 between the Devils and Rangers is tonight. Rangers up 2-1. Leafs Lightning Game 4 is tonight at 7:30.
Yeah, that's the one to watch.
It's a big one.
There.
Then Jets Knights at 9:30, and then Kraken Avalanche at 10. So it's a nice little slate of games. I'm excited. See what the Kraken. See if the Kraken can tie it up 2-2. That's the big if. It's the big if.
I'm rooting for the Kraken, man. I really am.
Are you?
And I didn't think I would be because of Dave Hackstall, but
yeah, I mean that was the first thing I think of is Dave. I mean, I remember how much I despised them for a good 3 months after they lost that last game of the season. Which
yeah, you know what? Yeah, that pissed me off. Yeah.
I wrote a very passionate blog about how mad I was when that happened. I'm pretty sure they pushed us to 5th instead of 4th, right? Because they were right behind us with their pick. Yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way, dude. I was so pissed about that. But yeah, they are fun. Like watching games, like I just mentioned in Florida that I hate, but watching games in Seattle, that's fun. It's just a really fun atmosphere. It reminds me of a Vegas atmosphere.
Another what seems like another successful expansion market from the NHL. I mean, good job. Those are 2 markets that I like watching. I like watching Vegas home games.
Yeah,
I like watching Seattle home games. Like, good job. I still don't like watching Florida ones. Like, I still don't like watching Columbus ones, or
Arizona ones, which just keeps alive for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, Seattle games, like you said, Vegas games at home, always a good time. We have to try to go to a Vegas game if the Flyers are there next year or something. I mean, I've just heard nothing but good things about the atmosphere.
Yeah, like the pregame show.
Yeah.
Like they got like a light show and shit.
Yeah.
It's a whole spectacle.
It is. Do you want to get into the rumors surrounding the interview process for the president of hockey ops?
Yeah, let's do it.
That's something that, I mean, Briere's been asked multiple times, especially in his exit interview, about the process of who they're going to hire for the next president of hockey ops. Obviously, Dave Scott stepped down as the CEO of Comcast Spector. Chuck Fletcher was relieved of his duties as GM and president of hockey ops. So our guy, Anthony DeMarco, he wrote a blog about 4 days ago talking about the process of this hiring and who's fronting it, and that's Dan Hilferty and Valerie. So they're looking for the next guy or girl to be the next president of hockey ops. Some names that he threw out on that blog: Scott Melbany. Am I butchering his last name, Danny? I know Mellenby. He was mentioned to be interviewed for the president of hockey ops position. He was hired by the Blues on July 12th, 2022, as the senior advisor to GM to Doug Armstrong. He was in Montreal's front office for the last decade and recently stepped down from his role as assistant GM last November. So he's a guy that could potentially be in the running. I honestly don't know, other than the one I just said, too much about him. Honestly, I don't know too much about any of these people that...
Yeah, president, like, evaluating a president of hockey ops it's kind of a hard task to do.
I don't know.
It's very case by case, but Doug Wilson rumored to get an interview. Doug Wilson?
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Don't know who that is. Sounds familiar. Did he used to work for the Sharks and had to step down?
Yep, Sharks GM back when they were real good, going to the Cup Finals.
When they versed Pittsburgh?
He may, I guess, I don't know, somewhere along the way, I guess he lost that job, but...
He stepped down.
I'm not sure when that was, but
I think it was a couple of years. Yeah, he stepped down for... I don't want to say the wrong thing if I'm not 100% honest. But I know he definitely stepped down for some reason. And now he's potentially, per, I think, Elliot Freeman, looking to get back into things. So he's definitely a guy. Anthony DeMarco, he mentioned Ray Shiro as a guy, but apparently Shiro wants another crack at like the day-to-day handling of things, and that's already taken care of with Briere. Yeah. So Shiro's probably not going to happen, but...
Shiro's an interesting one. I mean, our history with the Shiro family.
Well, I mean, it would be cool to see, but with the side note that he apparently wants another crack at the day-to-day operations of running a franchise, you kind of get put off with that because that's Briere. That's why you hired Briere years ago to eventually fill this role. He's obviously, the way he's talking in these last kind of interviews, he's the GM, full-time GM. They're probably going to announce it within the next couple of weeks, you would think, right? Definitely before the draft lottery.
Yeah, it seems like it's trending that way.
So
absolutely,
it's an interesting process, if you will. They also rumors of Cami Granato. She's the sister of the Buffalo Sabres head coach Don Granato and the wife of Ray Ferraro. You know our guy Ray. She served as a top scout for the Kraken before getting promoted to the Canucks organization. She's somebody that has been rumored as a potential candidate to get interviewed, but it's unknown about how serious the interest is and or if she's even accepted an interview request. But that's another name around the hockey world that could get interviewed. But a girl that has got interviewed, which I don't know if I'm completely going to butcher her last name. Help me out with this one. Emily...
Dude, good luck.
Yeah, I don't even want to say it. Castangue? I don't know.
Castangue?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Emily. I apologize. But she's another name that has already interviewed with the Flyers. So, just a ton of names out there already. I'm glad they're doing their due diligence with the process. I don't know if you saw that. Apparently, they have, again, reached out to an outside source to help them in the process of hiring this person, which... I don't really understand the uproar about. Like, aren't we sitting here asking them to do their due diligence with everything and check every box?
Yeah, I know. We sit here and bitch about the boys club. Like, they're making every decision. We want someone else making the decisions, and they put it in someone else's hands, and we bitch about that too. I agree with you.
That's exactly what I want them to do. And I mean, it was the same thing with when Chuck Fletcher hired Torts and he had an outside firm like help him in the process. It wasn't like they came in and was like, all right, Chuck, you have absolutely zero say in who gets hired. No, they came in and helped him and others within the process. It's kind of like that. So I don't personally have any problems with it. There were a lot of other things that Chuck Fletcher did as the GM of the Flyers that I have problems with, and that definitely wasn't one of them. So don't understand the uproar about that. But like I said, very interesting process. I don't know when that person is going to get announced. I'm sure they have a lot more interviews to go, but at least we have some names now that we can kind of get familiar with in the next couple of weeks.
I guess at the end of the day, what you really want is kind of a mentor to Briere, right? A guy he can go like just. He's a higher up. Yeah. I don't want to say mentor because like I don't want to just. Yeah, he or she is a higher up, so I don't want to make it seem like they're below Briere, but you just kind of want someone who's just gonna give him the right advice, push him in the right direction when he may be steering off course because he's a young GM, and that's why I kind of like Doug Wilson because that's a GM who has dealt with star players, extending star players, dealing with agents of star players, and going out and acquiring talent at deadlines. Like that's a guy who's been aggressive before and can teach Briere how to be aggressive. But it's not like my opinion really matters.
No, seriously, that's a really good point. That was a question that I wanted to ask you. Like with Briere being a new GM who, I mean, let's face it, he's never been in this position before with an NHL team. I mean, he's obviously been in the organization in the last couple of years. He's worked as the GM of, I forget what team it was in the junior league, but this is the first time that he's been in this position with an NHL team. And you look at it as maybe you want him to have a guy with experience over top of him, just so he has somebody to like go to for advice on things on a day-to-day basis kind of thing, you know? And it's really interesting. Are they going to go with somebody who's kind of new, or are they going to go with somebody with experience? And it's kind of a mix of both with all the names I kind of just listed. It's like Shiro obviously has experience. Doug Wilson, like you just said, has experience. But the others,
and they got connections too, right? So, like,
yeah,
they could just open the door to talking with certain teams. Like maybe, I'm not sure what teams Doug Wilson may have had connection with in the past, but let's say he had one with a Western Conference team. That's like an automatic like layup new connection when he comes to the Flyers. Like, just stuff like that.
No, but it really is an interesting question to ask. Like, what direction are they going to go? Are they going to go with an experienced guy or girl, or somebody, or something new? You know what I mean? So I'm definitely excited to see what they do there. New jerseys, Danny. Let's jump into that real quick.
Very excited about this because, I mean, we don't switch our jerseys much.
No.
Or our logo. Like the Flyers, it's a classic brand. Like we really don't switch it up much. So when we do, it actually feels like a big deal. Like this feels like a huge deal to me.
Especially, Danny, and now hold on to your seat, if we win a lottery pick. If we win, and I know this is insane to say, but if we get Bedard or Fantilli, and then
is it insane?
I mean,
is it insane to say?
6.5% chance, Danny?
Oh, it's rigged. It's rigged. Get out of here with that percentage. You mean to tell me the Ducks actually got the best chance? Get the hell out of here.
The Ducks have a 25.5% chance of getting first. We have 6.5% chance, but it's possible. It's possible. But if we like win one of those lottery picks, get one of those players, and we have new jerseys, burnt orange jerseys, I mean, it's a PR layup as it is already. Yeah. I mean, it's just an easy gimme. I mean, me personally, I will have one probably of Gauthier or Forrester. But if we get one of these guys and there's new sweaters, oh my gosh, the amount of money that they'll make and the amount of different jerseys that I'll order are just insane.
So this is an odd question, but do you know if any other team, are we the only team doing this, or is this like because of the New Jersey sponsor? Is a bunch of teams doing this? It's just us, right?
I'm not sure right now. Honestly, the first team that jumped in my head when you said that was the Arizona Cardinals. They just completely changed their uniforms and it looks awful. But NHL team, no, I haven't heard anything regarding that. I'm pretty sure just us right now, but I'm sure teams will follow.
Dude, but yo, Bettman's gotta know. Dude, this is such a layup, dude.
He's got to see it, man.
That's why I hate thinking about it, because when I start to think about it realistically, it begins to make a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I mean,
and that scares me.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it on this podcast. Absolutely, take us being Flyers fanatics out of the equation. The homerism out. Either us or Montreal in terms of a market. Chicago too, but I mean, Chicago doesn't deserve either one of them, if we're being honest. But Montreal or us, if you look at those teams that are in the running for these two guys, it's just take it all the homerism aside, Danny. It makes too much sense.
Dude,
and it can't be Montreal because they just won last year.
And if I'm the NHL, I look at a team like the Flyers, like they have John Tortorella, they lost like 12 overtime games. They're really not that far off. I hate to say it just because it's been a decade of mediocrity, but if you take a step back at like the NHL, they're really not that far off. You give them a little jump start, you might have a competitive market in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, you add any of those two, it doesn't completely change the rebuild. Obviously, adding Connor Bedard, but I mean, it advances it a little bit. I mean, you just added Connor Bedard, you're still going to let him come in and develop as he would. I mean, he's not going to come in here and carry you to a Stanley Cup. You're going to still let him come in here and develop. But it's just, you add a guy like that, man. It's just, and Fantilli, like, let's not get carried away here. He's no consolation prize. Like, that guy, if we're going to talk who's more pro-ready in terms of body type, it's Fantilli. Like, that guy could play in the NHL right now. I mean, I'm not saying Bedard couldn't, but in terms of just being a big body and having NHL size, Fantilli is that guy right now. I mean, he's insane. He's just an insane talent. If this wasn't a Connor Bedard draft, I think Fantilli goes number one in every other draft besides McDavid's, Matthews, and maybe Jack Hughes. I think it would be an insane running between Hughes and Fantilli if they were in the same draft. But, I mean, any of those two guys, Danny, it's just, I have 8 jerseys. That's all I have to say. I have 8 of them, and they're all different.
You said it best. Like, it doesn't equate to a Stanley Cup, at least not immediately. But what it does is it just gets the whole fan base back on board. You get a Connor Bedard, you get an Adam Fantilli, I don't care what happens. I'm riding with those guys until they are no longer on my hockey team. Ride or die with them, too. I'm no longer miserable on the timeline. I won't be bitching. I'm just going to wait.
Yeah.
Wait until it's their time. But, I mean, Connor McDavid's the prime example. Like, you could have the best talent. You could have 2 of the best talents of the game, and it still doesn't equate to winning. So you still got to build a team. But that's what kind of excites me about the Flyers. Like, we do have a decent little, like, spine of a team. I mean, we got the goalie. Defense needs a little work, but we do got some bright spots on there. Some forwards definitely shine this year.
Just don't have those superstars.
Don't have the star. Yeah, don't have the star. But
yeah, I mean, we'll see how he does in year 2 with Boston. I mean, he's got a lot of talent coming his way in the freshman class with Leonard, Will Smith, Peralt. I mean, we'll see what they're doing in the U18s right now. So it's going to be really fun to see what he can do. But, I mean, I'm not hanging my hat on him becoming a superstar. Could he? Absolutely, but we'll see.
But he is one of those guys, I mean, we've been asking at some point someone's going to break through and be such an unexpected surprise and just go right through their ceiling and surprise us. We've been waiting for that for years, and could be him.
I mean, it could be what's our boy Tyson Forrester. I mean, 7 points in your first 8 NHL games on a team like that. I mean, I'm not getting my hopes too high, but I mean, that was exciting to see. And
but he looked good.
He did. He looked awesome, dude. Like, that shot, holy shit, if you can put a playmaker next to him that creates his own space and finds Forrester in spots that Forrester just sits, I mean, I'm not going to say anything crazy on here, but Forrester could be a player. Like, if Cutter Gauthier and Forrester could, like you said, finally be a prospect that we had high hopes for and finally reached or broke through those high hopes, that would be perfect. And then we could potentially add a guy like Bedard or Fantilli with any luck. I mean, it would be incredible. If we don't get any luck and we stay at 7, you got a guy like Oliver Moore who could potentially be there, Dvorsky who could be there, Benson if he falls. I mean, there are just a lot of guys. Like, obviously, you're going to want the top 2 guys, the top 3 guys, even Carlson at 4. But this draft is deep, especially the top 11. So we're going to get a good player, and we just gotta hope that whoever we get and Gauthier are guys.
With Forster and Gauthier, like, dude, you notice it immediately with Forster when he releases the puck. It's like, we've been missing that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we've been missing that. That is so fun to watch. There's very few people on the Flyers this year that when they get the puck, you're like, oh, he can rip this from here and it'll go in. Like, very few people. But he was one of them guys, man. He got the puck on the rush or whatever. You're sitting up in your seat a little bit. And that gets me excited for a guy like Gauthier because he's clearly has a shot as well.
Gauthier is just an all-around kind of guy. I mean, he's got the neutral zone to play. I mean, he can go end-to-end. He's got the hands. He's got the size, the shot, like you just said. Power play guy. I mean, I'm really excited to watch him go back to college next year. I'm sorry. No, you go.
I was going to say, he just seems like the kind of guy that's going to be wearing a C or an A one day. It's so early for me to say, but I'm going to just toss it.
That's not crazy for you to say because I forget where I read it from, but I think it was either one of his college coaches or high school coaches. I forget. Don't hold me to this. It's somewhere on Twitter, though. If you're listening to this, it's somewhere on Twitter. Where they were like, this guy, everywhere he goes, every team that he plays on, all the guys in the locker room love him. And he's a leader everywhere he goes. And that's huge. Like, that's not only having a guy who's insanely skilled and big as he is, but having a guy who could possibly lead at some point in his life. I mean, I know he's leading kids, and the NHL is completely different because you're leading a room full of grown men. But just having that attribute as a 17, 18-year-old, 19-year-old it's really impressive. There's nothing about Cutter Gauthier right now, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a Flyers fan and he's our number 1 prospect right now, but there's nothing about him that's bad or disappointing or you're like, ew, that needs to get a lot better to be able to translate over to the NHL. Like, this kid could play in the NHL next year if he wanted to. Like, he could have easily,
if he really wanted to.
Yeah, he could have easily signed his ELC if he wanted to, in my opinion. But I think he looked at the Flyers situation. I think it was a two-way street. I think he looked at the Flyers situation, they looked at his situation, and they both went, hey, it doesn't kill anybody if I go back to school next year, gain more responsibility as an older kid, get to play with Will Smith, Gabe Perreault, and Ryan Leonard, who are all studs and probably going to go top 12 in this draft. It doesn't hurt his development at all. So he'll be a Flyer by next May. Extremely excited.
It's perfect, too, because you got Briere with the fresh GM job. There's no pressure on him to... Because Cutter Gauthier, like, there could have been some pressure for Chuck. Like, I got to get my guy in here. The guy I picked, I got to get him in here because he was on the hot seat. But there's just no pressure. And I know Briere's on the same page as what you're just saying now. Go back, get some more experience. This thing's going to take time anyway. Briere has said it himself. And, yeah, it'll be next year.
Speaking of the Phantoms who did fall short, I guess it was against the Checkers, right? Game 3, they lost.
The Charlotte Checkers. What a brutal series. So I watched the game 2. I didn't watch the game 3.
Game 3, didn't watch it like you, was busy, but it was bad. Like, they lost 5-0, I think, 6-0, or something like that. To lose game 3 brutal, like that, man. That is bad, man.
They should have won game 2. Like, they had so many chances in overtime. They hit post.
Oh, no.
I remember them hitting post, man.
Just an extremely disappointing way to end a really good season for them. I mean, a lot of young guys played well. Forster led the team in points with 48 and 66. Lexell had 45 and 53.
Sheesh.
Desnoyers had a team leading 23 goals, and he broke a rookie franchise record. That was held by Connor Bunneman and Danik Martel, so not really saying anything, but still cool to see him do it. Yeah. No offense to those guys, but...
Hey, that's 135th overall.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, you take anything you can get when you pick a guy 135th overall. Not every single dude needs to be a top 6 scorer or playmaker. Like, I've gotten into so many back and forth with guys on our Twitter within the last month about... Like, one guy told me that I shouldn't have used the word hype or hype train regarding Desnoyers because he's he's a he's a 135th overall pick, and he's not going to equate to anything but a third or fourth liner. And I shouldn't say get hype about that. I couldn't disagree more. Like there's like
that's a W.
Yeah, like there's
huge W. People like watch the NHL playoffs. Like the third and fourth lines are often the difference in these fucking teams, dude. Everyone has that top end talent. When you get to the end of the year, when you get to the April, everyone's got their fucking guys, bro. Everyone's got their horses. It's about the depth.
Nope, absolutely.
It really is, and that's why, like, when that guy messaged on our page the other day and was like, Brink, I could see Brink being a third liner at best. It's like, if we're really good and we're a playoff team and Bobby Brink is a solid third liner, that's a fucking W, bro.
Yeah. Not every guy needs to be a fucking 45 goal scorer or bust. It's just an insane mentality to have, in my opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, now if you're telling me, like, oh, Cutter Gauthier is a third liner, I bet, well, now we can have an argument. Now we can have a debate. I think you're faded, but
speaking of Brink, 28-41 after coming back from a torn labrum. That's not terrible.
No, not at all. I was actually pleasantly surprised with his season, dude.
So was I. Email Andre had 6 and 10. He just really impressed. I honestly think he might be a little bit too good for the AHL.
He made a play in overtime of game 2 that was so clean.
He's really good, dude. Like,
he wiggled 2 people off, got the puck in the zone, but it was like towards the end of his shift, so he couldn't follow it up. But if he did, man, it could have been highlight reel.
Dude, I can't sit here and enjoy that Andre is a good player because it just automatically reverts me back to the fact that Travis Sanheim is here for the next at least 6 years if we don't trade him by like June 30th. I saw when that deal finally kicks in and that modified no trade clause for the next 6 years is in effect. It's just, what are they going to do with that left side? I mean, you got Cam York, who's already the best defenseman on the team by far. You got to get him back to his natural spot. Provorov, I don't know if they trade him. And then Sanheim, who you can't trade unless you trade him very soon. It's just a terrible situation. It really is.
They've handcuffed themselves.
Yeah, and I'm hoping Briere can get out of it. But go ahead.
It's either you got to make an important decision right now before that no move clause kicks in, or you're just handcuffed. And then it has to be Provy. Because at the end of the day, you can get Travis Sanheim to waive it. Like, say things are going wrong, he's getting benched by Torts. Yeah. He's going to one out anyway. But that leverage handcuffs you so much because you know he's going to give you 12 teams that are all in the playoffs. Or he might give you one that's like Calgary because he's like from the, you know what I'm saying? Something like that. And it's just going to handcuff you even more because he's not Claude Giroux.
Like you said, there is a possibility that he does waive. But, I mean, I'm not banking on that. No. You know what I mean? So
but it's and that hurts your leverage even more. Like, you're going to take a worse return on a guy who has to waive and give you a 12-team list or whatever it is.
Would still do it. Would still absolutely do it. Like, I'm not looking to get a fucking insane return back for Travis Sanheim. I do think he could bring back something worthwhile, but I don't think he's bringing back a first. I just don't. I don't think he's that good.
Yeah, maybe last year, but I don't think this year.
Maybe. I mean,
that's a maybe. Yeah, that's a maybe.
NHL trades are just so hard to like compare and contrast because each situation is just completely different, and it's just really hard to be like, this trade kind of looks like this trade because of this reason.
Yeah, I mean, people will always be like, oh, this trade set the market, and then you'll see another trade where a GM just gets fleeced, and it's like, oh, but I thought that one set the market.
Like, there's a reason why Tanner Jeannot got traded for what he got traded for to Tampa, because Tampa was like, oh, Nashville, you have 3 other teams in on him too? Well, here's just this fucking house load of picks. Can we have them now? Like, they're in the position to have fuck you trades, you know what I mean? So it's just a weird position.
Oh yeah, they're putting their chips on the table.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they're in a position to do that. They have
something
like
I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Something I want to talk to you about. Alex DeBrincat. Apparently, he wants out of Ottawa, huh?
Well, I didn't see any of that. What happened there?
He's not gonna re-up. I don't think, or I think.
Oh, is that right?
I don't know. I saw multiple. I'm not sure the exact specifics. That's on me, but I do know there's multiple like confirmed reports of they don't think he's going to be in Ottawa much longer.
See, that's an interesting conversation because I'm not as high on DeBrincat as I was this time last year, but I would still take him. I mean, he's still, 25, 26? But, I mean, he's going to want big money. He's going to want term, and I don't think we're in position to do that. So, I don't think – it would be cool, but I don't know. I don't see it. Like, Briere specifically was like, yeah, we're not in any position to be trading – or not trading, to be signing a guy long-term or – a big-time move right now, which is it's true. Like, I'm glad our GM is finally saying that. And the only reason why me and you were on this podcast last year slamming our hands on the table for either DeBrincat or Gaudreau is because our GM told us the complete opposite. You know what I mean? We were just going off what we were being told. We were being told that it was a quick retool and they were trying to get better as quickly as possible, and that was the route to do so. But now we're being told that it's going to be a long rebuild. It's going to take time. And they're not in any position to do something like that. But it would be fun. Absolutely. Like, Alex DeBrincat's a hell of a player. If he wants, 3-4 years, maybe you think about it. Like, it wouldn't hurt. It would help develop other guys, too. But, I mean, I don't think it's on his priority list by any means.
But that's around, the age group type of player that you want to be targeting, though, if you're a team trying to build up throughout the years.
Picks and young players. That's what we want, baby. That's all we want.
Please excuse my neighbor mowing the lawn.
Yeah, I hear him. He's going crazy.
He's going ham.
But let's talk about just the players real quick. The top scorers after January 1st. Who impressed you? Who didn't impress you? Let's start with who didn't impress you. Who was a guy this year that you had a little bit higher expectations for and didn't quite meet them?
Didn't quite meet them? Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah, there's not a lot of players that you look at individually where you're like, damn, had a little higher.
Most of the young guys did take a step. Like, the guys who will be here down the line did take a step. And all the other ones that kind of quit on the team and gave up were guys I kind of wanted out of here anyway. So, I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Maybe Wade Allison?
Dude, that was my pick. But at the same time, I don't think he was that bad.
Yeah, I didn't have that. Yeah, and he wasn't that bad. And my expectations of him weren't insane anyway. Like, I kind of feel like I have a firm grasp on the type of player he is. You know what I mean? Like,
I gotta say Sanheim. He took a step back this year.
You know what? That is a fair one. Yeah, we've been hounding on him all year. I forgot. Like, I forgot he had such an up year last year.
It wasn't even an up year. I mean, we talked about on this podcast.
Quotations.
He was quote unquote the best defenseman on a fucking bottom 4 team. Like, Provorov was dog shit that year, like he wasn't this year. And the rest of the team, I mean, Justin Braun just retired. Good career for him. But, I mean, the argument that he was the best defenseman on the team when the team fucking blew is just a wild argument, in my opinion. But, yeah, he absolutely took a step back this year. Ristolainen was, I'm not going to say very good. He's just right below that. But he was solid. After he came back from his injury, he was just a solid defenseman.
It took him a little bit, but he flipped a switch and never went back. He was just pretty solid.
Tortorella and Shaw found something with him. I don't know what it is.
He seems like the kind of guy that can fucking take criticism. Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh yeah. I mean, he has made jokes post game like, "Yeah, I was fucking shitty tonight." Like, he's definitely right about that. That's funny.
I feel like those kind of guys just succeed under an honest coach like Torres, because at the end of the day, those conversations are productive. Whereas a guy like Hayes, and I'm about to cook Hayes a little bit because, listen, we get it. Like, he's not going to be here long term, and we know he's not the best player. But the way he quit on this team was fucking disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. And for him in his exit interviews to be like, "Oh, I knew months ago when the writing was on the wall. Like, I'm an all-star and I'm getting benched." Like, he so clearly quit on this team after he had a pretty good first half of the season. Now, it wasn't sustainable like that, but it was a clear checkout. Not finishing checks, not battling for pucks, getting benched nightly and bitching about it. And it was really annoying. Like, you have guys like Owen Tippett, Morgan Frost, who have scratched and clawed their way for years and years to just to get this chance, just to get this opportunity, and you're playing alongside them like you're supposed to be their veteran leader, their guy, and just the way he quit on the team really grossed me out. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I don't blame you for feeling that way, and I might even make you feel grosser by saying this, but I'm pretty sure during the season, like towards the end, when those younger guys that you mentioned were given the leash and the opportunity that they were given, I'm pretty sure Lawton was interviewed, and he was asked about it. He's like, "Hey, like, are you frustrated from like not playing as much? Like you're playing third line minutes. The minutes that you're playing you can't even compare it to the first half of the season." And he basically admitted, was like, "Yeah, I was told by Tortorella, like, hey, we're gonna look at the younger guys, we're gonna give them a chance." And Lawton was like, "I love it. Like, let's give the young kids a chance." Like, I just feel like the reactions from the two, from Hayes and Lawton, were just two completely different reactions. And Lawton's was more like a leader's reaction, and Hayes was more of like, "Hey, I'm an all-star, I should be playing" kind of reaction. Like, Hayes, look around, man. Like, we're not playing to win. Like, we want to give younger guys opportunities to see what we have in them. And I just feel like Lawton, like you said, saw that vision a lot better than Hayes and took the younger guys under his wing a little bit better. Like, I'm sure if players heard us talking like this, they would come to the defense of Hayes. I mean, I'm sure he's a good teammate and stuff, but like you said, it just, from a fan's perspective, it did kind of seem like he just quit on the team after like January 1st, after like that shift from, hey, this is finally going to be like Frost's time to get 23 minutes a night along with Tippett and Cates. It just seemed like a flip was switched. A switch was flipped. Like you said.
Some guys get it, some guys don't. Like, I look at Konechny, he responded well. Even towards the end of the year when he was asked about Frost, like, he had nothing but glowing things to say. He's like, this guy puts his time in. There was no one more deserving of an opportunity like this. And I loved hearing that from someone like Konechny. Like, he
was good this year too, man. Fucking 31 goals in 60 games. He was a point-per-game player. He had 61 points in 60 games. He was
no complaints here. Definitely still think you should survey all your options, but
absolutely. And we'll talk about that in like 2 minutes, real quick. Isn't it funny how Konechny is still third on the team in points after January 1st with 26 and 29 after missing 16 games with an injury?
Just goes to show there was like sad. 4 or 5 people who got the puck on the team this year, and you're like, they're gonna do something. But dude, to finish off. That's Morgan Frost.
Yeah, 32 and 45.
And it feels damn good to say. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you.
That was your pick on our pod before the season started as your breakout guy.
Dude, you know what else I said? I'm like, dude, not to like glaze myself here, but I also said I predicted Konechny to hit 30.
You did. I was gonna wait until you remembered that you said that, because you hit on both of them, bro. To be honest with you, we gotta go back and find it, but definitely good call, man.
But to finish off my point on Hayes, like, at the very least, this team wasn't the best team this year, but they fought, they battled, and they fought for each other, dude.
They did.
They really did. They fought for the man next to them. They were hyped when each other scored. They were supporting each other. Even when we were all dogging the team during tough stretches, they were still in it together. And to just see that out of a veteran like Hayes, a guy whose personality, I liked having his personality in the room. Like, that was like the least of my complaints years ago. And it's just, I don't know. He just seems too soured this year.
I mean, like, you can't blame us from a fan's perspective. It just kind of seemed like he was just like, all right, it seems like they're going in one direction, and I'm not part of that, so I'm cool on it, kind of thing. I don't know. Whatever. He's probably not a Flyer next year, along with Provorov. We'll see where that goes. But the whole Konechny thing, like you just said, it's a really tricky situation because, I mean, Briere was asked at his exit interview. I think it was Charlie O'Connor who asked him, and it was a good question. It was basically like, obviously you're not calling other teams to trade TK, but in terms of this being a long rebuild and TK being 26, 27, and he's going to want big money and he's going to want term, does it really line up with what you want to do? And Briere basically turned around and was like, yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to listen to all options with TK, but I mean, I still think he could be on this team and good when we're ready to be good. And I agree. Like, I think you could go both ways with it, and I think Briere is going to, what Briere is going to do with TK is what I think a lot of people would be mad that Chuck would do. But I think with TK, you just kind of sit on him. Just sit, and if any team calls and offers something insane, then trade him. But other than that, he's nothing but an asset right now in terms of...
That's why we're talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just because of pure asset value. Like, it has nothing to do... Like, I actually love Travis Konechny.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad he had the year he had. And if he is here long term, zero problem with it. But... it goes back to why we were talking about Sanheim last year. Like, if you are a team in our position, you have to look at your most attractive assets and say, can we cash in? I mean, it's just something that has to be done. Whether you do it or whether you don't is a different thing, but you have to look at it.
Absolutely. And he's definitely a guy that you could be sitting there a couple days before draft day or on draft day where a team's like, you know what, we're going to go for it. And they offer you a haul. And you're Danny Briere and you're sitting there like this... I can't say no to this, and they do it. So I think that's the only way that you'll see a Konechny trade is if somebody just completely overpays for him or gives us exactly what he's worth. But yeah, you can just kind of go both ways with him. I'm excited to see what Briere does because there's not anything that I'm specifically looking at, if you will, that I'm expecting. You know what I mean? It's all kind of up in the air. I don't know what the fuck he's gonna do. He's gonna do something though.
But back to the young guys, like I said, most of them did impress. I mean, I look at also a guy like Cam York. I mean, I don't expect his huge leap to happen in this early as a young puck moving defenseman. I think his big breakout year is on the way. It wouldn't have been this year anyway. So, but I liked what I saw.
Yeah, I saw people complaining that he didn't do anything on the power play. I'm like, he's on one of the worst power plays in the league and not even getting power play 1 minutes fully. So I don't know what
we
fuck
talked
you
about the other
expect him to
day
do.
watching the Rangers. I mean, just the amount of options the Rangers have. Like you're talking about
Yeah.
slot one timers, face off dot one timers, point shots, redirects. Like it feels like the Flyers have about 2 options. If that, like on a good day, it's like an Owen Tippett shot and a Konechny shot. It's like, and they're not the most high percentage of plays. Like if you get what I'm catching my drift here.
Or a JVR butt shot into the net.
Yeah.
That was our 3 plays. But yeah, I don't know, how do you expect a guy to be good on the power play that's like bottom in the league for the last 2-3 years? I mean, they need talent, and once you give Cam York talent to work with power play 1 time, which he should be getting next year, he should be getting all the power play time. You'll definitely start to see the points, the assists rack up for him because he's just a distributor on that. Blue
Derek
line.
mentions all the time he's not even on his right side.
No, he's on his offside. He's never played on the right side in his career, and he's been playing it for the better half of the season, and has been on the eye test and on the analytics test our best defenseman by far. So it's just this kid's incredible.
So you're in a different role. You're breaking it out to benders. You have a terrible power play.
You're accepting passes on your backhand with guys on top of you. It's a completely different world on the right side. Like, I don't care what people say. If you have never played the right side as a defenseman, you're not going to be very comfortable there. And he has admitted, Derek has said, that he has admitted that he's not comfortable on the right side, that he is uncomfortable on that side. So that is the number 1 priority for me. And we're talking about young guys here. Frost led the team after January 1st in points with 32 and 45. He's a priority. Cates, and
loved Noah Cates.
Yeah, those 3 guys, and then obviously York. You need to sign all 3 of them. But in terms of positional play, you need to get York back on his natural side. That is the number 1 thing for me next offseason. Sign these 3 restricted free agents in Frost, Cates, and York, and fucking get York back on the left side. I don't care what you have to do, but do it.
And dude, you look at you just mentioned those 3. I look at a guy like Owen Tippett, another youngster that I have nothing but good things really to say about. I mean, like he showed up.
27
He showed
goals.
up this year. Are you a scorer? Are you a banger? I'm a scorer. He showed up. I mean,
he's just
what I saw.
If he could continue to do what he did last year, and I mean this year, and build on it, he can really be like a 30-goal power forward type. I mean, he's just the way that his first step in acceleration has changed since he became a Flyer has been really, really surprising to see, if you will, because he's just skating past dudes now. consistently too. So if he can build on that, he's a 30-goal guy, man. He really is.
He reminds me of like the kind of guy a good team would have on their second, third line. That would just dagger a team.
Yeah.
That would be so annoying. Like, he's not the star player, but he's just like, he's been a menace in this playoff series, and I fucking hate him.
Hopefully you can become that. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are like that. Like, on a really, really good team, do you think TK is a second-line winger, right winger, or a first-line right winger? Like a Stanley Cup aspiration team.
I think second, but you could put him in the first and really, like, spread out your talent, and it would still work.
And be fine.
Yeah. If you had the talent to spread out as such.
I do think they have a lot of guys on that right side. Like, we talk about how deep the left side of the defense is. The right side of the offense, the right wing, you got Tippett, you got Konechny, you got Forrester, you got Brink, you got Atkinson. I mean, there are a lot of guys on that right side. And not one of them in Forrester could be a first-line guy if he hits his ceiling. But the rest of them, like I just said, I think Konechny could be on the first line on a really good team and be fine there. But ideally, he's on a second line. But like the rest of these guys, Brink, he's probably, if he hits the ceiling, a really good second line player, top 6 guy. Tippett, like we just talked about him. But like none of these guys but Forrester have like first line potential, in my opinion. So there are a ton of ways that Briere can go about this. I mean, we talked about moving guys to the left side, but we tried that with Tippett, and Torrell apparently didn't like it, so that's out with him. But tough decisions to be made, Danny. A lot of interesting things going on with this team right now.
Definitely. It's more interesting than it was a year ago from this date. I'll say that. There's definitely more hope.
Yeah. Just watching the team this year was like you were able to turn on your TV and not want to fucking shut it off immediately. You know what I mean? Like, you not want to just go outside and just, what the fuck did I just watch kind of thing. Like, you could actually sit there and somewhat enjoy the effort that they gave you. So,
yeah, like they were supposed to lose.
Yeah, they're not a good team. Yeah, exactly. Like, nobody expected them to, like, sneak into the playoffs this year. But it was good to see them actually have heart. And I mean, there were times throughout the season where they veered off the path, but they did come back. They always followed up those dud games with good games, and that's a sign of a disciplined team, or at least a team that's starting to get there eventually. But nothing but good signs this year. Like you said, not expecting to win. Cutter Gauthier, you got this pick coming up. The young guys improved. You're going to get rid of some older talent that has money attached to them. So right now, Danny, I have hope, and You can't blame us as Flyers fans for having a little bit of hope. There's been too much dark and misery over the last couple of years, so I'm going to choose to have hope with Briere, even though he's shown me nothing to have hope, but I'm still going to do it because I'm a Flyers fan. So we'll see where things go.
Yeah. It's still the beginning of the John Tortorella era. I mean, if he gets what he wants and then finally gets his team, because this isn't his team, he finally puts his stamp, gets his team next season, I'm interested. I'm interested to see how this team can grow. Me
too. It's going to be fun to see them potentially grow into what we want them to become.
And like we always talk about, maybe they are 4 or 5. Maybe they are a feel good story next year, and they're a couple points out, and they add a Gauthier, and they go on a heater. Who knows, man? Who knows?
So cool and fun, man. That's just something that I just can't even convince myself could happen, because I just don't know what it would even feel like. Real quick before we go. We're already at almost an hour. We have some questions. I don't know if you want to read them or you want me to read them. I have them right here.
I got them as well. Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Start fire. Bleed Orange and Black, our
Bleed.
boy. Name 3 players, first or second end, and 1 goalie, any selection of the draft you want to see on this team, and how Danny B makes it happen. Get spicy, my friends. Now, is this all the draft he's speaking, or just the goalie?
It looks like he's saying first or second end. Not sure exactly. I'm just going to name 3 players that I would love in the draft, Bleed. You're the goalie guy, Bleed, so I don't really know too much about goalies. That's a completely different universe for me.
Are we sticking to 7, 8, 9 range? Like strictly?
Well, he said get spicy, so let me set the field real quick.
Okay.
This is spicy for me, Bleed. Now let's say in this scenario nothing happens in the draft lottery and we'd stay at 7. Nobody moves up. Everything's the same. let's say we end up with Oliver Moore, right? Speedster, really good two-way player, great hands, just Dylan Larkin type. And if he hits his ceiling, he's like Nathan McKinnon. He's the fastest player in the NHL as soon as he steps on the ice. Like, top 3 fastest player. We grab him at 7. And then Danny Briere finds a way. He finds a way, Bleed, to sneak back into the first round. And Dmitry Simashev or Gabe Perreault. Gabe Perreault just broke Austin Matthews' record for points in the season. I mean, he's been incredible this year for the United States National Development Program. It's just, if they could dip back into the first round and grab any of those guys that fall, that would be fucking incredible. In my opinion.
I see,
that's spicy.
What about Riley Height? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, you are. He's another player that I'm pretty sure he played. He played his first game of the under-18s yesterday. He got flown in because his junior team, was in the playoffs and they got eliminated. So, and he had a really good first game. Him and Cristal kind of remind me a lot of each other. Really good hands, Zegras type hands. I mean, just incredible hands. Both have kind of have skating issues, playmakers. But yeah, he could be another guy they could dip back into. I don't think he's going to be there. I think a team is going to fall in love with him before we could potentially pick him. But I think a guy like Gabe Perreault could be there because he has concerns that come with him. And I think teams might stay away because of him. And if that happens and we can sneak back in and get him, that'd be awesome. Yeah, Gabe Perreault.
For goalie, we have no clue, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely no clue. But for Gabe Perreault, most productive season in NTDP history. He's number 1 with 118 points. Austin Matthews is number 2 with 117. So Will Smith is also on that list, 4th with 110. So just insane numbers. And I'm pretty sure Will Smith moved up because he had 6 points or 5 points yesterday against Germany. So just insane talent possibly to be available for us, Bleed. But don't know too much about goalies, bro, to be honest. To be completely honest with you.
Dude, I'm gonna say we're gonna win the lottery, bro.
Are you really?
Yeah. I mean, he said get spicy.
He did.
And
it's spicy.
It's not that. Yeah, it's realistic spicy. It's not like we're 10th. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, dude, if that happens, like I said, I will be showing up to your house with a rack of beer, a 30 rack.
We're getting 1 or 2. Dude, we're getting 1 or 2.
Let's go. If it happens, I don't even know what I would do in terms of my initial reaction, but I will be at your house with beer.
I'm thinking think of all the generational player drafts lately, or maybe just the extremely high end ones.
Has 7 ever won the lottery? What were the Rangers when they won Lafreniere?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to go check.
Yeah. I don't think 7's ever won the lottery, but there's got to be a first for
What
something.
were the Devils last year?
5th.
Devils were 5th? Okay.
Yeah, because they were behind us, and they bumped us to 5th, and they moved up to 2.
The year they won first, where were they originally? For Hughes.
Weren't they somewhere with us? Near us?
I think so. We're definitely going to have to go back and check that out.
Either way, like Danny said, we're winning the lottery, so book it.
Lottery, and then we're pulling off a surprise trade, getting back in that first round, and we're getting Riley.
Ooh, I would love that. Riley Height. If Derek heard you say that, he would be going crazy right now. He's going to hear you say it. But
and then next year, we're going to keep losing even more, and we're going to get a stud defenseman.
And there's I'm
sure you're going to know more about than me.
Yeah, there's a lot of them right now. I'm not going to talk about them
it's just like that. That's Briere's plan, baby. That's Briere's plan right there. Minimal holes in the pipeline after that.
We'll see. I'm just excited thinking about it. The possibilities, the breath of fresh air that I finally have with this team.
Oh my God, we got Florida's pick too. I always forget about we have Florida's pick.
That could be a 2025 pick if Florida wants to fuck around and be really bad next year.
Hey, either way, it helps the timeline tremendously.
No, I need them to just miss the playoffs, so it's like pick 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just chill. What if we What if we picked like 8 and 14?
No,
after getting Bedard.
I'd be packaging that bitch up to move up to like 4th.
Holy shit.
Flyers clips. What's the first thing you're doing when Danny B trades Hayes with retention for Columbus's second and selects height? Another height take.
In the second?
Yeah, he says, what would you do when Briere trades Hayes to Columbus for a second and then they select height with it? If height's in there for a second, oh my, I'd be so excited.
I'd be pumped. Dude, just like the thought of like we don't have to deal with Kevin Hayes anymore, and we get a guy that we could watch post highlights of and get excited about for the next hopefully 12 years.
He's definitely going to Columbus. Like the writing is on the wall. I've heard nothing.
It's pretty wild.
Columbus.
Yeah, it's pretty wild how like this is so certain. like they've talked before. It's like they have the deal already hammered.
I think it is. I genuinely think it is.
I agree. I think they're just waiting for some kind of like
it's a draft date trade.
A calendar date. Yeah, they're waiting for the calendar date to do it.
Then Derek, our boy Derek, who's better at manipulating defenders and finding passing lanes, Smith or Cristal? And then he goes, am I giving Stumps an extra excuse to talk about Cristal and Smith? Yes.
So wait, so from what I've gathered, he's not too high on Cristal, right? Or was that a joke?
No, in terms of selecting him 7 because of his skating and pace issues, no. But in terms of his puck skills and IQ, he has him like right behind Bedard.
Okay.
But yeah, the whole thing with Cristal is when he has the puck on his stick, he's elite. He's probably the best player in the draft behind Bedard in terms of playmaking, puck handling, IQ, seeing the ice. Like he's just incredible with the puck on his stick. The problem is, it's tough to see how he can translate it to the NHL because when the puck isn't on his stick, he's kind of like
it's just not.
It's just not all there right now. I don't think he's as bad as a skater as Derek and other people think he is. I think his edges and his hands are fine enough to translate to the NHL. Like they're that elite to the point where I don't think he has to be a burner. But I mean, personally, I would take him at like 7 and 8 and geek. Like I think he has the Trevor Zegras type skill that you just. I mean, Trevor Zegras isn't a burner by any means, but he's able to make up for that because he has elite hands, elite hockey IQ, and he knows how to work gaps.
Dude, some players aren't the best skaters, but when they get the puck, their acceleration with the puck is what separates them from everyone. Like some guys, just like you mentioned, Cristal, they're like off the puck, finding that spot, finding that space can be hard, but some guys get the puck and they flip a switch. They're turning. I see that with Morgan Frost sometimes as well. Morgan Frost will get the puck in stride, and it's like he just levels up his speed mid-stride.
Yeah, Frost is another guy you look at. I mean, he has the elite hands. You need him to move his feet when he has the puck on his stick. It's kind of the same thing with Cristal. But I mean, Cristal has a lot better hands. It's just
but like you see it in him when he gets the puck, though. Like there is a burst.
Cristal?
Yeah. Is there any burst when he has the puck?
No, there's no burst when he has the puck.
Okay.
That's the issue.
It definitely is worrisome, especially at the level he's at.
Yeah,
right
but
now.
In terms of just hockey IQ, hands, playmaking ability, power play ability, he's just like if he just showed a little bit more burst and willingness on the other side of the puck, I think he'd be a top 6 pick for sure. I would still take him 7 because you just don't teach the skills he has, and I think you can teach him to play with pace. But to answer Derek's question, I think Cristal. Derek, I think you would admit this yourself. In terms of hands and playmaking, Cristal's right behind Bedard. I mean, he really is. He's just that good at just handling the puck. Manipulating defenders, I don't think either really skate that well. I mean, we had a long talk about how Will Smith isn't the best skater in the world, but I think both have good edges. I think I would give the edges to Cristal in terms of being able to stop and start, but it is a tough question. But if I had to pick, Cristal for sure.
Prospects with hella potential and skating issues will always be a common theme of every draft. I feel like there's always those guys who are just.
And every time, I said this to Derek.
And they're so tricky because I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna finish this real quick. But like, I look at a guy like Forrester. That was the main complaint of him. And then like, he's obviously not. I'm not saying he's fucking McKinnon, but he went in the lab with his skills coach. And I remember it was like a big thing that summer. Is like his skills coach was hammering it home on Twitter all the time. Like, trust me, this kid has been working on it. He's been working. He's been working. And as you get older, you fill in your frame a little bit more. You get a little stronger. Like, it is definitely something tricky to get a read on. That's why I feel you on the potential point.
Yeah,
but I definitely could see it.
There's another player in the draft that's kind of like the same worry about him. Dalibor Dvorsky. He just had a 5-point game in today's under 18s.
Yeah, this guy's a polarizing topic. Like, people. Yeah. You ask some people, they love him. Some people don't.
Yeah, so some people don't like him because he's too slow. And I'm not going to sit here and argue against it. He's not the fastest player in the world. He's not going to beat you straight line with straight line speed, but he screams to me that player that doesn't need to be the fastest player in the world because he has the IQ and positional awareness to know where to be, like a Tyson Forrester. Like, Forrester's always in the right spot to make a play. And I think if you're not the best skater in the world, you need to have that element to your game to be able to help you translate. And I think Dvorsky has more of that in his game than Cristal does. So I think you can look at Dvorsky and see him translate a little bit better. I mean, Dvorsky's 17 years old. He turns 18 in June. And he's already an elite two-way guy. Like, he's elite defensively. Underrated offensively. It's just his skating doesn't have that wow as soon as he gets the puck and starts skating. The acceleration does not have it at all. But everything else, he has a shot. He's awesome on the power play. He's 6'1". He's not a small guy at all. He's got a nice stature, but just the skating stuff. And there's just a lot of guys that each fucking draft, I'm like, I love this guy. He's got great hands. Either it's like a guy has like Zegras hands or a guy who's just a good two-way guy that I like, and he always drops back, and some team sitting at like 17 is like, okay, I'll take a risk on him. Isn't that what the draft's about? Isn't the draft about taking guys with high ceilings and hoping and working on their weaknesses? Like,
especially when you're a franchise that your GM doesn't have a hot seat. There's a clear commitment to rebuilding. There should be no shortcutting this.
And I will say this: if we select more, or if Benson drops or whatever at 7, and the draft keeps going and going and going, and we're at like pick 16, 17, and Andrew Cristal is still on there, still on the board, you need to trade back. That is, without doubt, the perfect spot to take on Andrew Cristal, because who gives a fuck about his skating issues at pick 17? Pick 7, I'll sit here and listen to your argument about not taking him because there's other guys that could potentially be just as good who don't have the same kind of issues, like an Oliver Moore, who, when he hits NHL ice, will be probably the top skater in the league. That's how good he is. But at like pick 16, 17, Cristal's the best player on the board without question. It's not even close. So if he's anywhere near that spot, Briere, you need to get back into the draft and go get him. And I'm just saying this. I have no inkling. I have no inside info, but maybe Briere wouldn't be that shy to take a player like that, because Briere was once a player like that. Like, Briere was that small guy with skating issues who people didn't think would be able to translate into the NHL. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm hoping. Cristal's a really good player. Yeah, there are concerns, but me, personally, I think he's going to be like a 70-point playmaker on in a top 6 somewhere. I just think he has the skill. You don't teach skill, and he has it.
That's a good point about Briere, about him being that player once. So he shouldn't be shy of this. And like, you could just see his impact on the young players already, right? I mean, ever since he's kind of stuck his hands into the development side of the team, I feel like we've seen nothing but some uphill climbs after a lot of downhill climbs throughout the years and regression. Yeah, I don't know where else I was going to go with that, but I'm definitely I'm on board.
It's an exciting time, like we said. He did a great thing, a great job at Frost too. We talked about that a couple of times.
Konechny as well. Like, after Konechny had that down year, he said during the summer. He had a lot of conversations with them. Told him like get to the dirtier spots. Like you're a small player, but you can still get to that spot faster than someone bigger than you. Like shit like that.
I think Briere is gonna be good for us, man. I really do, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Flyers fan. I have a good feeling about him. I really do. So we'll see where things go. But this is a good episode. We're what, 74 minutes in. Damn, haven't been back in what, almost a month, and we're gonna give them a 74-minute episode. Let's go.
So we got some good playoff games down the stretch here.
Yeah. We'll be
finally,
back.
we're going to know what our pick is in 2 weeks. That's what I'm really excited for because, like I said, it's so hard for me to like balance the hopeful in me that's like, oh, but we might win the lottery. But like, I'd rather just either put that to bed or have it happen. Like, let's just get it over with, and then we'll focus on the draft.
Let's say next week, May 1st, we'll come back, do an episode, and then the week after that is May 8th, and we'll have the live stream for the draft lottery, and the fate of the next 15 years of my mental health will be on the line if we win. So I'm already nervous sitting here thinking about that draft lottery, dude. I'm going to wake up that day, even though it's a 6.5% chance, nervous as fuck.
No, you have to be because everything like aligns towards it. And like we'd be lying to ourselves if we said it didn't. We'd be lying to ourselves if we said, like, oh, it's unrealistic for the Flyers. We got Elliot Friedman saying, like, it's the best possible thing for the NHL. Like,
it is. It makes too much sense.
Yeah, when you have all these factors, and like I said, a team like Chicago, they can get a Bedard, but they're still going to be bad for so many years that, like, no one's really going to be tuning in to watch national Chicago versus some other Western team like that. But you get Flyers with Torts, Bedard, up against Jack Hughes and the Devils in early November. Are you kidding me?
Like Bedard and Gauthier versus the against the Hughes twins. Brothers.
Dude.
Give me that.
Early November. Both teams are like 7-4-2. Like, give me that shit.
And you know I know we're on cloud 9 right now talking crazy hypotheticals, but I want to throw this one out there right before. We'll talk about Bedard and how fun that would be. But Fantilli and Cutter Gauthier as our 1-2 punch.
Jesus.
Dude, they're both like 6'3", will shoulder you in the chin and have insane skill. That would be like the best 1-2 punch we ever had.
We will literally be like the modern day, like 2011 Bruins. Like, no bullshit. Just tossing teams, bro.
If they were, if that ever happened and say Cutter Gauthier went to the wing, that would be like the modern day Legion of Boom. Like, legitimately, dude. If they put another big-ass dude on that line, we're just like a medium-sized guy.
That's how you build a modern-day successful Philadelphia Flyers hockey club. Because you can't just get by on the physicality and the Broad Street Bully shit. That's clear.
Yeah.
You get the guys that could do both, man.
Wait, real quick. Do you know how good Fantilli is? Like,
I mean, I got a pulse on it. Like, he's the best fucking college player ever. Freshman, at least.
Definitely the best college freshman ever. Definitely. But, like, this guy is... If Bedard wasn't a thing, he would be the consensus #1. And, like...
And that's a program that I put a ton of stock into. More than any other development program in the United States. So that's why when you told me that, like, Cutter Gauthier's... What?
We're talking about Fantilli, right?
Oh, my bad.
No, you're good.
I'm tweaking.
I was like, Fantilli's Canadian. I was
going to loop that back to Cutter Gauthier and how, like, remember how you said he was captain material? Like, when people in that program are saying that, I really take that to heart. Yeah. But yeah, I forgot he's fucking Canadian. He's playing in college.
I saw some, when Derek released one of his draft profiles recently, some guy commented, it was like, no more UNDP guys. And I was like, why? Like that program is dishing out like some of the best young NHLers in the league right now. Like Jack Hughes is from that program. Jack Eichel, Cole Eiserman, who's going to be the #1 draft pick next year. Will Smith, Oliver Moore, Cutter Gauthier, like Trevor Zegras, like Cole Caulfield, Cam York. I could keep going.
I mean, yeah, like look at the body of work.
It's insane. No,
I mean, like when that program is at its best,
it's insane.
It beats Canada. Like we've seen it in the past. When it's at its best, when it has its best talent crop pool when it's not depleted. Like right now, they're like some years they're in like a bit of like an in between stage where a lot of players graduate. Like, but when they're in their best, they are better than Canada.
Like right now, they're a better team than Canada in the U18s. The United States first line is Gabe Perreault, Will Smith, Ryan Leonard. It's insane. It's the best line in juniors. If you were to like compare every league's lines, it's without a doubt the best. And the fact that think about this, that line as a whole is going to Boston College next year. All three of them are going to Boston College with Cutter Gauthier next year. So, like, think about it. That's fucking insane. Boston College is going to be wild to watch next year. I don't know if that line's going to stay together or if Cutter Gauthier is going to play with one of them. But if Cutter Gauthier could play with Ryan Leonard next year, oh my fucking God, dude. That would be incredible to watch. And if Ryan Leonard could potentially be a Flyers draft pick, having them both up there playing with each other, getting familiar with each other, that's beautiful. It's perfect.
Dude, I need to figure out a way. Whatever games are not on ESPN Plus, whatever streaming service I need to get
it.
Yeah, I think it's a must get. It's Michigan of a couple years ago level. Like, we must get this streaming pass.
Especially if we draft one of those three kids that are going there next year. Will Smith, Gabe Perreault, Ryan Leonard. And then Oliver Moore is going to BU.
I wouldn't even be watching the Flyers. I'd just be watching them getting
seriously.
hyped, dude.
Like, what? Like, they're not going to be good next year. We all know that. And, I mean, they got 2 first-round picks next year. And if, like I said, if Cutter Gauthier is on BC with another Flyers prospect, top 5 prospect, top 6 prospect, fuck. Yeah, I'm a huge BC fan next year. Fuck. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see who we get in this draft, Danny.
Let's see it. Let's see this lottery, May 8th.
May 8th.
But yeah, that has been 80 minutes.
Yeah, 81.
This was episode 94 of the Liberty Yell. You can follow us on all socials at the Liberty Yell. Follow me on Twitter at TLByDanny, Chris at Chris Stumps.
And go Floor.